Good morning, afternoon, and evening, my friends. Hope y'all enjoyed your 3-day weekend. My name is miahtheking, and when I was in high school, I got an A on my origami assignment when I turned my paper into my teacher. Now then, today we're taking a look at a game just released on Steam called Capes, a superhero tactical-based game with styles similar to that of XCOM, developed by Spitfire Interactive and published by Datalick Entertainment, released not in early access and selling for $40. Now, you might remember or recognize Datalick Entertainment from their groundbreaking work on the one, the only, Gollum. Oh boy. Okay, well, maybe this one will be better. Anyway, the gist of this game is that 20 years ago in this world, the supervillains won, kinda. They took over one whole city by an evil entity known only as the Company. They killed a lot of superheroes, which are apparently a thing in this world, and now anyone showing any signs of superpowers gets abducted into an evil experimentation camp, or they get killed. You are the Resistance, a small band of misfit young people with powers who come together to try and stop the evil company and bring back the age of superheroes. Why superheroes from around the country or the rest of the world don't show up and decide to help, I don't know, but regardless, here we are. So, as always, let's go into the good, the bad, and the ugly. The ugly being my final thoughts and recommendation. Starting with the positives, we have the sound design. The voice acting feels natural to me, which is good, and it's everywhere, which is good. The actors seem to fit their roles, and most of the time they feel like they're giving it their all. Well, you know, like I said, most of the time.
We told you, leave us alone!
I don't know about you, but if I was screaming and blowing up a door, I wouldn't be half-assing my scream, especially if I was putting my all into it. The sound effects in the game sound really cool and on point, however, matching the visuals as you'd expect, and then you've got the music whenever it frickin' shows up.
What did I eat?
Notice any music? Huh, me neither. Whenever it does pop up, however, it's decent enough to fit the whole superhero thing, but I do really wish it was around more, and it can kind of get distracting when it's gone. It's easily forgettable if you almost never hear it. Next up for the positives is the graphical design. Now, for some reason, I do really like the graphics. I didn't think that I would, but I do. The color contrasting and the attention to detail, along with the different lighting and physics, all look really nice for this theme of superheroes. And they even give you frequent detailed cutscenes, even going so far as using Comic Sans to really make it feel like a comic book. Like, I was really enjoying the look of the game, and I wanted to see more. Is it the best graphics? No, it does have its issues. But for this particular style that they were going for, I actually thought it worked better than if you had used some other high-tier graphic engine or whatever that they might have put in its place instead. Next up for the positives is the tutorial and the user interface. The user interface is coherent and cohesive, easy to understand and navigate. The controls are what you'd expect them to be or what you'd want them to be. Nothing too difficult to understand or manage, and also nice to look at. The UI, I mean. The tutorial was pretty great as well. It taught you what you needed to know and allowed you to actually participate in story-driven battles to help you learn the gist of the gameplay. As I've said many times before on my channel, this is how tutorials ought to be. So you learn what you need when you need in a timely, non-confusing manner while playing the game's story. Awesome. Last but not least for the positives is the creativity here, the ingenuity. There's a lot of cool aspects to the game's overall design. For instance, your superheroes can work with each other in the throes of battle to create new moves, new attacks, or combos, or whatever, adding depth and teamwork to the, well, team. Each superhero has their own unique abilities that do this, that, or the other, and each superhero has their own ultimate move, which normally is pretty cool. Like, I especially like the teleporting girl's ultimate ability. I mean, it's just badass. I don't really like her personality, but, you know, it's not the worst that I've ever seen. I leave that designation to the character Star in the game. Can't stand her at all. Don't like her. Anyway, then you've got the fact that this is a strategy turn-based game, very similar in style to the XCOM games, but with superheroes, which is such a cool idea that I'm surprised I never thought of it before. One thing I like to do in my downtime is to just come up with interesting ideas for video games, and normally they're like top-of-the-line games that give us everything that we want, involving something we really like, or thinking about games in a way that people don't normally think about, and then when you hear it, you're like, oh, that'd be a cool game. I tried to do a segment on my channel about it once before, and nobody watched it, so apparently I'm the only one who thought it was cool when I would pitch these cool ideas for games and everything. But whatever. The point is I just thought that the way of doing this in this game with these kinds of characters was pretty cool. I was kind of impressed. Alright, so that's all I got to say positively about the game. Now on to the negatives. But before we get into that, do me a favor and leave a comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell. See, that bell that you click on, it's going to let YouTube know that you want them to let you know when I put out new content. And who knows, I may end up saving you some money someday if you click on one of my videos. So, click that bell. But if you find this video at least entertaining or informative, then, help me out a little bit, would you? I mean, every little bit helps. I really need to get bigger and, I could really use your help. So, yeah. Anyway, thanks. Now, on to the negatives. The first negative I have is the game stability. It didn't really have anything game-breaking, but it did kind of get annoying. First, the cutscenes. They tend to lag, drop frames, and sometimes so slow I had actually thought it froze on me, but then again, maybe it didn't, I just didn't notice it. It was kind of hard to tell. Along with some buttons not working when they're supposed to, or the game changing camera angles on me for no reason, or sometimes attacks simply not doing what the game predicted they'd do. Just a lot of really minor glitches that kept popping up. Not really game breaking or even super bad to ruin my playthrough, but there were enough, it was happening enough to become annoying. Next up on the negatives is the writing and the characters. I don't really like them. None of them are very interesting, and none of them really have any character besides the character trope. That's it. They're just standard tropes. He's the kind-hearted doofus. She's the sassy, sarcastic one. He's the smart but shy one. He's the gruff, older, experienced one who doesn't like anybody but secretly does like everybody. Like a father, kind of. I don't know. This is more of a minor thing for me, as some tropes, I suppose, are necessary for superhero stuff like this, so maybe it's a play on that, but that's not the thing that I really wanted to talk about. What I really wanted to talk about here was the writing. The writing here is... It's kind of lame. It's kind of predictable and it's cliche, and a lot of it doesn't even make any sense. What do I mean by that? Well, simple. They clearly make it known in the first hour of gameplay that there are indeed other superheroes across the country, maybe even across the world. This is a day and age where everyone has cell phones, and yet this is what, like the future or something, so they would have advanced cell phones? I don't know. And yet somehow, despite supervillains ripping up streets and killing superheroes right out in the open, no one in the country knows what's going on here. No other superheroes are paying any attention to this. Did none of them pay attention to the supposed war that happened 20 years ago, where the top 10 superheroes in the whole world were all killed? Did nobody care? And even if the government didn't care, because there's like a ploy that maybe the government was the ones behind it, then what about other superheroes across the country? Did they not care? What about the people who were saved by superheroes? Did they not care? What about other countries that might not feel the same way? Did they not care? It doesn't really make any sense. I don't know, maybe in hour 10 a big reveal will happen, letting us know all that the government is really behind it, that superhero guy who is more like the guy from The Boys, Homelander. He plays the good guy, but he's actually evil. $10 says it's something along those lines, because otherwise the story would make absolutely no sense, and I cannot believe that it would be that nonsensical. And that's the only thing I'm going to say about that in case of spoilers. The point is, the writing here doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But I will say that some of the dialogue, at least, did make me smile here and there. So, it wasn't all bad. The next negative I have is the gameplay. Now, don't get me wrong, the gameplay is not the worst. In fact, it's not even all that bad. I just didn't feel that it belonged in the positives section. And here's why. The gameplay on a base level is fine. It's turn-based superhero stuff, right? Like, how can you go wrong? Well, when random thugs are stronger than 3 superheroes, that's when you start to feel that something has gone horribly wrong here. We're talking a dude who can make crystals, a big guy, like he's a big muscular guy, and he can literally form crystals out of anything. And then you've got this other guy who's got incredibly powerful psychic powers, and this chick who carries 2 blades and can instantly teleport anywhere. And they're getting their asses beat by a few thugs with pipes. Literally a day after taking down a dozen soldiers with guns. When that kind of stuff starts to happen due to the game's mechanics, you know something is wrong. I'm not even on hard difficulty. I'm on normal, and I could not find a way to beat these guys and accomplish my objective. The reasons is because of the disproportionate amount of enemies to superheroes ratio. It'll be 3 superheroes against 15 thugs, which if the heroes were actually super, then it would have been fine. But if you're going to make the enemies that tough, then give us more superheroes. If you don't want to give us more superheroes, then make the thugs weaker. I don't care how strong you are. I don't care how big a dude you are. If another really large dude hits you in the chest with all of his strength with a fist made out of sharp stabbing crystals, you're going down and not getting up, and you'll be lucky to still be alive. If a chick with 2 short swords pops up behind you and stabs you in the back, you're done. Game over. Dead. But no, here every enemy is injected with super serum, I guess, to make them able to fight on par with superheroes, which, again, would be fine if there weren't 3 times as many of them as there are you. When you can't heal, and if you get knocked down a second time, your character dies and it restarts the mission or loads to the last checkpoint, it's a bit ludicrous to throw 15 supervillains against 3 superheroes and not give them the ability to heal, isn't it? And because it's turn-based and you're severely outnumbered and outgunned, since half of them have more health than your heroes, it makes it an even more struggling battle as you watch these guys just keep hitting you. Like, it's turn-based, so your 3 characters will go, and then 7 of them will go, and then your 3 will go, and then 8 of them will go. Like, it only takes like 3 hits for 2 of your superheroes to go down. So all it takes is you to end your turn, and then 3 of them come up, hit your hero once, and they're dead. They're done. It's over. 7 attempts, and I was just unable to figure out how I was supposed to stop these guys and accomplish my objective at the same time. Despite me using every trick the game taught me, I was still unable to accomplish my objective. So I think there's definitely some balancing issues here with the gameplay. Plus, overall, the gameplay gets really repetitive really quickly. At first, you don't really notice it because they've got the cutscenes, and they've got the unique supervillain, and they've got all this world building going on, and superpowers, and combo moves, and it all looks really cool and really fun. But the more you start to play it, I mean, don't get me wrong, the gameplay does have its cool moments, but after my 3rd battle, the wow factor had worn off, and I ended up finding myself more bored and wanting to speed up the gameplay to push through the missions as fast as I could, just so I could get to other stuff to see what else the game might have to offer, because so far, I was like, okay, I can't upgrade and build my base. I can customize my superheroes, that's cool, they level up, but they all share SP. So if you spend the SP on one of your heroes, the other heroes don't get any upgraded skills or anything. So that's badly managed. Why? Why not just give them each their own SP every time they level up? So that way, there's a very weird balancing going on here with the gameplay, and it doesn't work. Okay, so that's all I got to say positively and negatively about the game. What are my final thoughts? Well, first, before that, you might have noticed that I didn't mention the price tag. Well, that's because I've got mixed feelings on the price. It has decent enough graphics, a lot of voice acting, some cool animations, cutscenes, mechanics with gameplay, with a large production value behind it all. Remember how I said in one of my last videos how the game didn't feel like it was deserving its price tag because it lacked production value? This is kind of what I meant. With choice of missions, character-independent world-building missions, character development missions, training, leveling up, and customizing your heroes, even the suits they wear, lots of voice acting, lots of cutscenes, big moments of character building and world building, cutscenes, and even more that I won't even mention here, and you can kind of see and feel the production value that is here. But then with the bad writing, the stability issues, the repetitive, imbalanced nature of its gameplay, and I found myself torn. So let's just move on to my final thoughts. I think the game is fairly harmless. I think it's pretty good in terms of quality, more or less. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. Without the ability to build and customize your base, and with the average and sometimes below average voice acting, or the awful writing, it kind of makes it hard to recommend because of how slow it can get, or how repetitive it can get in its gameplay. So I think it's just an average game. It's not great, but it's not terrible either. However, at least it does have voice acting. At least it tried in its gameplay. At least it introduced a new and interesting idea, so I don't know. I guess my recommendation would have to be a wait and see. You know, add it to your wish list and see if it gets any updates to make the game more bearable, or wait for a discount. $40 is a lot of money, and despite the production value, there's also the entertainment value and the player retention, which I feel the game is lacking in. I mean, once you get to the point where the cool powers aren't, exactly exciting you anymore, you can at that point you start to spot where the game is lacking. So wait. That's my recommendation. Wait for a discount or wait for updates. All right? I know that was a bit all over the place everywhere, and I'm sorry for that, but I kind of struggled with this game, constantly going back and forth in my own head. I just hope that maybe my rambling helped assort your thoughts into making an appropriate decision for you. Well, whatever you decide, thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I can't wait to see you all again on my next adventure. So until then, I bid you all farewell.